There's no reason that, as a biracial man, quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys, I still feel funny when a cop's behind me or turns on his lights.
The $1 million pledge that you made and racism. Before we even get into the pledge, I want to talk about your parents, because your mom was white, dad black, 70s in the South. How aware were you of how unhappy your mom's parents were with the relationship, and how, all hell almost broke loose when they found out that she was pregnant?
I knew about it all. Her trying to run away from home at the time, to her coming back, to her and my dad staying together. The racism really only changed in my family from the time that, or from my grandparents, is from the time that they held my oldest brother, and that they saw that this is from my mom, that this is a part of them, that this human being is no different than any other human being out there, regardless of what he looks like. And that is huge, that she was able to educate us and tell us that at a young age, and that, hey, it's still out there, and it's not going to necessarily go anywhere until you can change it.
You once said about growing up in Houghton, and I'm kind of paraphrasing this quote here, I go to my white grandparents' house, and then I cross the railroad tracks and head out to my black grandma. We have English teachers on my white side, my grandpa's a principal, and then you go to the other side and people have been in jail. What were you trying to explain there? That
I go back and forth and realize that there's no different in the individuals. There's no different in the people. Some have had it harder, some struggle, some have had more opportunity than the other. And that's simply why when you cross the railroad tracks, it looks different. Because honestly of the systemic racism. And it's all about getting to know people for their heart. And I was blessed and so fortunate to be able to do that, and have a mom that made sure I saw that.
Because you're biracial, your brother said you guys can see both sides, but at times it felt almost stuck in the middle.
Yeah.
How so?
Because we played both sides. That people almost saw it, I felt like they saw it as unfair. Or they saw it most of the times, I guess you can say, fake. And so for us, it was always about trying to break that barrier on both sides, and show that we're all humans, and we all struggle. And we realize today in this world, and a lot of people are being educated and understanding now, that one side has had it way tougher.
What made you decide to make the $1 million pledge to, according to what you wrote, improve police training and address systemic racism through education and advocacy?
Yes, because where we are today isn't because of necessarily any of us, unless we don't change, unless we don't have the heart to see what is wrong is wrong. We're all humans, we all make mistakes, we all are able to love, we're all able to have empathy, but you have to be educated to have that. And that's what I want to do, is educate people on the empathy that we need to have for whatever it is. There's no reason that, as a biracial man, quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys, I still feel funny when a cop's behind me or turns on his lights. And
really?
Yes, because if that cop doesn't know me, and he has other intentions, what makes me any different than anybody else? But the fact that he knows me, that may, right? And that's so unfair and that's so wrong, is I want these individuals that are policing and protecting our streets to do exactly that, and to do that by knowing the individuals in the communities that they're doing it in. So when I pledge this money, I pledge to start a program. And this is something that I want nationwide, with equitable standards and training and community service, that before you're ever given a gun or a badge, or maybe even before you ever complete your academy, that you're in your town or you're in your community, that you're going to be protecting and serving, so you know the individuals that you are, and more importantly, they know you. We need more people with the right hearts to get into being a police, to be police officers, and so they're not viewed wrongly, or they don't want to do this job because they think that they're a traitor or something.
What have you learned right here in Dallas needs help with?
Oh my gosh. I mean, my numbers aren't going to be exactly off the top of my head, but we have almost 3,000 officers, with less than 1,500 of them that have body cams. I think they say almost 80% of our weapons and things we use are out of service or out of order, that they're duds. Tasers are duds. They're not able to feel comfortable, even as law enforcement, that if something was bad, to be able to use theirs. And us as citizens, we can't feel safer, we can't feel comfortable when not every officer's wearing a body cam. So those are just two that, to me, stand out bigger than ever, that I plan to make a difference and help change here. And hopefully we can get Dallas to be a model for the rest of the world, for the rest of the country.
The pledge that Dak made, I know you've been very involved in that. What would you like the long-term goals of the pledge or initiative to be?
Just police reform, honestly. And I don't even want to say that because that sounds bad. It's just, I don't know, it's crazy. I just wish everybody could see it from the eyes of a multiracial. I know that sounds terrible and I didn't even want to say it like that, but that's truly how I feel, because you have so many people out there who just see it from their own spectrum. You know, you have white people yelling it that all lives matter, and they're not yelling at all lives matter because they're racist, you know, or at least not all of them are yelling that. They're yelling at because they truly feel like when you say Black Lives Matter that you're trying to say that they don't matter. But I was one of those, man, all lives matter. I'm a multiracial man, you know, like all lives matter. But the more conversation you have, you realize, man, until Black lives matter, not all lives matter. Bigotry and hatred, it's learned. It's not something you're born with. You are literally taught to hate somebody. You're taught to not like somebody based off their race, religion, or sexual orientation. And until we can get the younger minds to see everyone for what they are, you know, it won't change.
What about his pledge are you most proud of?
I have to go back first of all and tell you how many calls I got about, why is Dak pledging money to the police officers? What are you doing giving money to the cops? Okay. It's like, slow your roll, get an understanding of what's going on. I texted him immediately after, my pride. Thank you, because that's where it needs to start with police reform, with education. And systemic racism has always been out there. That's not going to change. Some guys look to get in that position just for that power of authority. If the system isn't trained to weed those people out prior to, then we have to deal with that. Hopefully Dak's donation is something that's going to help transition from where we are now to something better.